The expedition was starting to come back together. Although time would tell if we would find them all. Or indeed, any sign of survivors in other settlements. As we had only just begun. Being able to gather resources quicker should increase our survival chances. Well, that's what I thought at the time. Whether or not that would be the case, well, we would find out. But at least the situation with the lack of coal would be remedied. Then we could move on to another important issue. That being food. Although there was the problem of where to send the scouts next. That sturdy shelter is worth looking into. As for what law to pursue next, either extra rations for the ill, or overcrowd the medical facilities. I was inclined to sign the law for the former. It's heartwarming to see families reunited after so many hardships. But shouldn't there be other settlements nearby? The first expedition left London long ago. They ought to be well established by now. They'll surely help us find our footing. We will look for the others. While that was going on, the food supply would need to be remedied. As people were going hungry. And the people, they have a habit of turning on those that are in charge. Mostly when they're lacking in what they need to survive. And disturbingly, from what I've read from history, they even resort to cannibalism. a number of issues left unresolved from day 5. At least some of them would need to be remedied fairly quickly. Otherwise, things could turn chaotic. I had an idea of what's needed to be done. Besides having more than one gathering post near the coal thumper. That would result in more coal being gathered. Meanwhile, the engineers are needed to gather coal in the meantime. As far as unresolved issues are concerned, at least the issue of us not freezing to death has been resolved. It would appear that I need to expand in order to house those who arrived the previous day. I decided that another hunter's hut was needed in order to stave off hunger. Although space was still at a premium. Even more so, space with heat. Because it would be most unwise to build shelter without any source of heat. As for the next research, I decided that it would be wise to turn off the overdrive and also have them work on better technologies, along with have the medical post be manned by engineers, those knowledgeable of how the human body works, in order to make sure that we don't keel over dead. As that is not good at all for survival is it? Speaking of survival, I was hoping that by researching more advanced technologies, we might have superior ways of gathering food. Because I doubt that 2 hunters' huts will sustain the population. Not by themselves, anyway. Although we at least have enough shelter for all. Well, we would once it was fully constructed. Something else that we needed. Was a stronger generator. One that could provide more heat. And if possible, a wider area of effects. And we have a problem. The people are hungry. Too many of them. I promised them that all would be fed, and there would be a surplus within 3 days. And unlike the promises, empty as they were, of the politicians in London before the frost, I keep my promises. I don't make promises that I'm unable to deliver on. They found a comfortable shelter that was well equipped with emergency supplies. There was a notice posted on a heavy-rooted post that spoke of scientists, and if any supplies are used to notify the quartermaster on return to the city, implying another in existence. The resources were taken, and I decided that the supplies found were better acquired sooner rather than later. They needed to come back to the city. Especially the food. The food was in desperately short supply here. Although at least the temperature was almost not going to be a problem. pace of progress was increasing, although not quick enough. It needed to progress quicker. The technology that was needed. Let us just say that 2 workshops were better than 1. Especially with the assistance of the child's shelter providing apprentices. At some point I will need another one, as there are still some children unattended. I also knew that there would be others coming. In fact, it was for this reason that I decided to have another workshop constructed. Because if it meant faster research, it would be a good thing. Especially as we have some engineers spare. Well, we would need them to be spare anyway. Yes, that is a problem. Having a building constructed without a road to connect it. It was said that all roads need to run. Mostly because they wanted others to believe that. I suspect that was just what they wanted others to think. Oh yes, that sawmill. As was in the middle of everything. What to do with the space that will be left after it is salvaged? That is something to think about. And the same goes for the other one. At least the research was completed. As for what to have them work on next, a hothouse, yes. That should provide more than enough food. if two of them are constructed. Although, I would also need to have a heat zone made. Well, it was time to build a road that leads to, well, a street, to be more precise, that leads to a source of steel. Well, the components, or a component to make it. This was something that was long overdue. As for where to send the scout next, the scout party rather, that bridge looks interesting. It might be worth checking out, looking into, or however many ways you can put it. Although I am relieved that the food situation has improved. And it shall improve greatly once hothouses could be made. Of course, a limited amount of them can be made at one time. Due to the scarcity of the cores. Yes, the steam cores. But hopefully there will be some salvageable ones somewhere around this land. Although the first priority is to seek out other settlements. After the hothouse, it would be a good idea to have steelworks, which requires iron ore deposits. It is safe enough to have them work on that. Ah, another sawmill that can be salvaged. I have a good idea of what to replace the void left behind by the sawmills. Deconstruction. something that'll be most useful. And as for that steam hub, that will create a new heat zone. My thoughts on that were not yet. Only when there are structures there that require heat. Structures that have people in them. Yes, there should be enough food for all. And enough of the surplus. Yes. The hothouse should be ready for construction. Fairly early within the day. Well, next day anyway. Well, if it can be afforded, both in resources and in the engineers needed to run them, I shall make another workshop so that progress is at a more breathtaking speed. As for what they'll find around that sturdy bridge, well, a bridge obviously leads somewhere. It would not be built for no reason. Bridge exists to cross a gap from one place to another. Well, it's easier than climbing down and climbing back up again, or a perilous crossing of a river, or the slower way of going around the long way round. Funny, isn't it? A lot of the politicians dismiss the concept of global cooling until it was far too late.